Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Thursday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to carry. It's Thursday. You know what that means. That means we're going to be joined here in just a minute by our college football analyst, Brent Beaird. And second portion of the show is the Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup. We'll have Mike Ridaught from the PrepZone.com break down now that I believe all the high school baseball is over with. Who won, who lost. Also talk a little spring football. A lot of games have already been played. Some more tonight and tomorrow night. But first, let's go to the Titan MR hotline. And we're joined by, as I said, our college football analyst, Brent Beaird. You can follow Brent on Twitter at Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How are you?
Shane, I'm doing fine, and I'm doing a whole lot better than the Buckman Bridge is over here. People who are used to driving in Jacksonville may be aware that for some reason this morning all the southbound lanes of the Buckman Bridge are closed because of some kind of bridge damage. Well, we don't know what's going on, but hopefully that will be cleared up soon and it won't be any further delays. But on a much better note, the preseason magazines are slowly filtering in. We have Athlon, the SEC edition, and the national edition. So it's always fun to get the magazines rolling along as we inch closer to the season.
Yeah, rumor has it you've been sitting outside of Publix every morning before they open the doors, trying to run in there and get your magazines. Before we get to college football, Brent, I got to do some news and notes. Gator campus tomorrow, super regional start. Florida will be hosting Georgia in softball. If you missed it yesterday, Florida just hammers run rules. Mississippi State, I think it was 17-1. They play your squad today, Brent. Alabama, I think at 5:30. Good gracious. You see how Alabama won that game?
Yeah, they had several controversial calls so far, but Bama has played well. And frankly, I've had a couple upsets so far in the tournament and have a little bit of momentum going into tonight's game.
Yeah, they do. So, but it was a lot of controversial calls against Tennessee. But Florida, Alabama, I believe, first pitch is supposed to be 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. Brent, as you said, the magazines have come out for us guys that haven't yet to travel to Publix or someplace to get their magazine. Tell us some of their predictions in those magazines.
No real surprises, frankly, from what we've heard all throughout the postseason. Georgia, Florida, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina, Vandy predicted for the East. In the West, Bama, A&M, LSU, Ole Miss, Auburn, Arkansas, Mississippi State. In your top five overall, Bama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Georgia. A&M is number 6. Florida is number 11. LSU number 17. And the Miami Hurricanes number 14. So any surprises with that bunch, Shane?
Oh, gosh. You know, I don't know. I'm not a believer in Miami. I mean, maybe they are the 14th best team in the country. We'll see. You know, the one thing that stood out to me, you had the prediction of Athlon's Mississippi State last in the West. Wasn't it about 2 months ago we were on this show talking about ESPN Power Index had them like 8th in the country? What's going on there?
As we talked before, I still think whoever did that for ESPN may have had a nip or two before they actually started the process. I think basically the bottom part of the SEC West is almost a coin flip here. You've got Mississippi State, Arkansas, Auburn rated as low as I've seen them in quite some time, with Brian Harsin as the new head coach, and a little bit of Question mark certainly about Kevin Steele going. Mason coming in from Vanderbilt, I think will do a pretty good job. So, but I still think Mike Leach will have a better year. I think he's turned over that roster to a degree. So I think, frankly, Shane, your last 3 or 4 teams in the West are probably interchangeable.
Yep, refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. Major lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Speaking with Brent Beaird on the Titan More Hotline. Brent, the SEC came out, I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before, announced some of the kickoff times. I wasn't surprised at all with Florida, Alabama at 3:30. I know a lot of Gator fans were hoping that'd be a night game.
Yes. Look, I've always had the mantra that no game in the SEC should be played before 6 o'clock in the month of September. But fortunately or unfortunately, it's going to be. I mean, it's no surprise that it is on that day. How important that game is going to be. So that's one of the games set. Georgia, Florida, no surprise, also at 3:30, and then Missouri, Arkansas on the day after Thanksgiving. So that they're slowly coming out with some of their schedule. They've also got some other games that have been announced that CBS did, Air Force and Navy on September the 11th at 3:30. Now, I will double check that. That might be the CBS Sports Network. As you know, they're two different. CBS has got it's one of your higher channels in the pecking order in the on Comcast or whatever you've got for cable. So I think that's kind of what that is. We're supposed to get later on today the Pac-12 is supposed to come out with its TV schedule. So Shane, the conferences are making a bigger deal. I think they're trying to kind of follow what the NFL has had some success in doing in getting their schedule out, but you're seeing some of the conferences over the next few days come out with more TV information.
Yeah, and I would assume, I think there's been talk about, in the past few years that CBS doubleheader primetime game for the last several years has been Alabama LSU. Looks like it's going to be Alabama A&M this year, right?
That's the speculation at this point. They just pretty well leave it blank on that doubleheader, but it's on October the 9th, and it doesn't take much to be able to figure that out, what it might very well be. So, but I still say that Alabama LSU game maybe end up being more important than the Alabama A&M game. Now that A&M game against Alabama is at A&M. So that's going to be a huge game for both those teams. Bama plays Ole Miss the week before, so that will be 2 straight games, very interesting for them. But yes, and that is the speculation. People are wondering what the CBS primetime game might be, and that's what it looks like right now, that it will be Alabama at Texas A&M.
Yes, indeed. And some of the odds for the national championship winners came out. Same cast of characters, right?
Well, this is Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Georgia. Well, what does that sound like? It sounds like what we just talked about in the magazines. And see, this is why that a lot of people want to expand the playoffs. Now, we may get down at the end to the same teams, but if you've got 8 teams instead of 4 teams, at least you've got the chance of something happening. So we will basically see the same thing as we do now. I really believe those AP writers grab a magazine, they see what's listed, and that's pretty much what they do in August too.
Yeah, we're speaking with Brent Beaird here, our college football analyst. You can follow Brent on Twitter at Brent Beaird here from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios on the Titan More Hotline. Brent, I saw the point spreads. Were you surprised at Alabama as a 15-point favorite over the Gators?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's still just so much mystery to this right now. They're a 17.5 favorite over Miami. 2 touchdown favorite already over the Gators. We mentioned that A&M game that they're basically minus 13. The one that really surprised me was the minus 24 versus LSU. I just think LSU is much better than people would give them credit for. I mean, they've got not one but 2 quarterbacks. Their line of scrimmage basically returns intact. So, absolutely. And Shane, as you know, a lot of these point spreads are put up there just to get people excited and to react to them. And that's basically the reason they do it. I'm sure that's happening.
Yes, no question about it. Brent, the SEC said, you know what the heck, we went through COVID, but we're going to stroke a check to every school in the conference for $23 million.
Well, how many people can do that? But the SEC can. I mean, it really is amazing, frankly, to now look, and we may be off on the numbers, but the SEC every year gives their schools roughly $50 million plus. So we're going to go ahead and give you $23 million in addition because of COVID. Now, Greg Sankey has told some different media outlets, now get this, the league is accessing future earnings from a deal with ESPN that begins in 2024. If you're wondering where that money is coming from, or if you're wondering what line item that may be listed, hey Shane, wouldn't that be great, my friend, if we could do something like that based on our earnings in 2024?
Yeah, there's no question. It's crazy how much money the SEC makes.
It is.
Brent, a lot of people may not be familiar. I mean, we know guys are sitting out on bowl games now, getting ready for the NFL draft, but there's a kid who's committed to Texas, a running back, Jaden Blue, who is just basically skipping his senior year, worried about getting hurt. Is this is he going to be a trendsetter?
I hope not. This is one of the most ridiculous things I've seen in a long time. Now, for our listeners, we're not talking about a guy who's in college. He's a rising senior, and he's going to miss his year. This is a high school player. This is a running back. He's from Houston, 5'10", 195. He's committed to Texas, and they put out basically a press release talking about this is a very difficult decision. Football is a brutal sport, wear and tear with running backs. There may be some violins playing in the background right now, and I want to take time to focus on my academics, which may be the real reason for this to begin with. But look, I'll be honest with you, Shane. This is a situation to where this needs to be nipped in the bud immediately. Look, I know kids have freedom to do what they want to do, but he is not thinking this through. He's got some horrible advice here. And frankly, if I was Steve Sarkisian, I would tell the kid, we are rescinding our offer until you play your senior year. Now, obviously, no one can force you to do anything like this. But Shane, I'm really hoping and praying that this is not something that starts a pattern, because frankly, you've got to have tape. I don't care who you are, and look, he's not thinking this through. His goal is to go to the NFL, but I can tell you right now, there's some NFL people shaking their head at this too.
You know, it's just sad to me because you'll never get back. I mean, I was lucky enough to win a state championship in football, and we're actually having in July again. I mean, we won it in 1988, so do the math. It's a long time ago.
Sure.
We're having, a little cookout party this summer, for the guys to get back together. I mean, these are bonds that you'll have the rest of your life, and to not play, I just don't understand it. But anyway, if you got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. Not surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. Call them today. That's QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. Speaking with Brent Beaird here on the Titan MR Hotline. We got a quick Facebook Live brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. John says, does Florida have an outside shot at a top 8 seed if they can win the SEC tournament? I think that's the only way they become a national top 8 seed is if they win the SEC tournament. It's going to be difficult because there's so many games and your pitching is diminished. But they played well. They've played well so far in their first 2 games. We'll see what happens. Brent, let's kind of go around the SEC. Any news out of Tuscaloosa?
Well, obviously the TV news is important. If anyone tuned in late, the Alabama-Florida game will be 3:30 Eastern Time on CBS. Also, it was announced that just a few days ago that Alabama-Miami is going to be a 3:30 game on ABC. Now, the good thing about that is that we'll also have Clemson, Georgia at 7:30. So you've got the Clemson game, you've got the Miami game. And I tell you what, I'm not saying they will because I don't think that's going to happen. But what a shot in the arm for the conference, for the ACC fans, if they won both those games. But as far as Alabama's concerned, they are like everybody else. Their freshman class is now on board. They're in school, and they have moved in over the weekend, as basically everybody else in the SEC and around college football has too.
Yeah. Auburn. Okay, so TJ Finley, which I'm on record saying I don't think he can play a lick in the SEC. I guess Brian Harsin and the Auburn Tigers think different. He's going to be signing with the I guess he's committed, signed, sealed, and delivered,
yes,
and is eligible to play this year, right?
He has 4 years of eligibility left, if you can believe that. Now, look, they think it's going to be insurance for Bo Nix to give him a little bit of competition. Now, again, he left LSU because of Miles Brennan and Max Johnson. Frankly, as Shane said, were better quarterbacks. So, Finley's a good-sized kid. He's 6'6", 240. He can run a little bit, but I'm with you. He's not very accurate. He completed only 57% of his passes. He played well against South Carolina last year. The other games he did not play real well at all with that. And then they also got another transfer, Marcus Harris, who is from Montgomery, transferring from Kansas to Auburn. But Shane, on the Finley situation, I still say this may be a lot more of an indictment against Bo Nix and what they expect Bo Nix to do or maybe not do, as it is anything else.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't like their quarterback situation at all. We got a Facebook Live brought to you by Meldon Law. Trey wants to know whatever happened to that tight end from LSU decided not to come to Florida. I think he's referring to Eric Gilbert.
That's exactly who he is referring to, and there's been no decision made here with Eric Gilbert. And I pretty well think there are a lot of teams still in play with this. He originally went to LSU. Georgia's been linked to him. Florida's been linked to him. Alabama's been linked to him, all at different times. And we really don't know all that's going on there. I've heard there's some off the field stuff, and we'll give the kid credit because we just don't know all that's happening. I've heard there's some academic stuff, and I don't talk about that much. Try to give the kid the benefit of the doubt that he can get his grades better if that's what's going on. So it's a really good question. The problem is we don't really have any answer to it right now.
Yeah, Gators pick up a JUCO defensive back. Is that for next year, or is he coming in to compete this fall?
I think it's going to be this year. His name is he's former Missouri cornerback. Now that he's a JUCO player right now, Jadarius Perkins has committed. He goes to Mississippi Gulf Coast, the same as Florida signee Dwayne Black. Black is already on campus at this point. So now that is a good question. We may need to wait a little bit on that and kind of see where that's going when you've got a JUCO involved. But again, if you sign a JUCO player and he comes on, you're expecting that kid to be more advanced and to play a whole lot quicker than say a high school freshman coming out or a high school senior coming out to be a freshman. So and we'll get into this in a minute, but he's another player to leave Missouri who have had several to leave lately.
Yep. Georgia, up in Athens, they have spent, since Kirby's taken over, what is it, like $175 million on their upgrade their football facilities. They're walking into a new one. I think it's almost open, but you say what you want to say about Kirby. He understands the whole arms race and facilities. Georgia's getting ready to open up some crazy football facility.
This is an $80 million facility that they've basically got open. The players have all oohed and awed over it. They're nearing the end of phase one, and then that they will continue to add to it. It's 165,000 square feet. New locker room, weight room, equipment, sports medicine areas. Phase two is supposed to be done by 2022. Shane and I have had this discussion before. For our listeners, this is important. We may not like it, but it's the way it is. And you've just absolutely got to keep up with the Joneses. And you have to do this for recruiting. And by the way, Shane, did you find it very interesting that they're basically moving into this thing, about a week before June the 1st, which is the end of the dead period, and recruits can start making visits.
Yeah. They also have a chance of getting that. That I thought he was a starter for several years for Clemson, and I don't know what happened. He was a defensive back. He hasn't made his decision yet, but isn't Georgia in the running for him?
They are. Darian Kendrick, who we're talking about, 6 foot 190. Basically, what happened here? This is a kid from South Carolina. He was dismissed from Clemson at the end of February before they started spring drills. Now, this is not hearsay. This is from a report from the Rock Hill Herald that he was charged with carrying a handgun on March the 12th, phantom asleep in the car, and so forth. Now, there's thought that these charges may be dropped, but the question is, where does he go? And there's a lot of speculation that he will end up at Georgia. Now, Georgia, besides the offensive line, their weak spot is their secondary. And to their credit, they've done a lot to shore that up. Most recently, they got Brandon Turnage from Alabama, the defensive back, coming there. So their secondary may go from a weakness to a strength before they open the season against Clemson.
Yeah. Somebody just posted on Facebook Live, and it's not up there anymore, but they said that doesn't include all the payments they paid for players to go there, referring to Georgia. Well, they're spending money up there. There's no question about that. Brent, anything coming out of South Carolina? I haven't really heard. They've kind of like flown under the radar since they've hired Shane Beamer.
I frankly think that's the way they want it right now. Now, the biggest thing happened with them is they've added a couple of future opponents, which, to say the least, are not going to get you excited in South Carolina State and Wofford. So now we can't laugh at Wofford very much because Wofford's beat South Carolina before. But look, there's so many mystery there with we don't know what the staff's going to be able to do. Well, we're not really sure just what this team can do this year. I mean, hopefully Beamer will be a pretty good coach for them. So you're right. I mean, there's been very little that's come out of there at this point. South Carolina baseball and basketball over the last few weeks have probably has had more publicity than the football team.
Yeah, they really have. Real quick, before we kind of go to the ACC, first of all, Ole Miss, if we all remember, fired their offensive line coach like 2 days after the spring game. I think they led the league in rushing. Now they hired some like 28-year-old kid.
Yeah. Jake Thornton is the new offensive line coach. He's well thought of as a coach, and we'll see if that develops. But again, Randy Clements was fired a couple of days after spring practice. It's unusual, but Lane Kiffin gave him a chance for whatever reason. It didn't work out, so that they have made the hire. But you're right about that. I mean, look, he would have to be one of the youngest coaches on any staff in the league.
Yeah, easily. A&M, Brent. Anything new coming out of there? I still think they're going to have a really good year if they get any decent quarterback play.
Well, if they do, they will challenge Alabama for the West. It's simple as that. I mean, Isaiah Spiller is one of the better running backs in the league. And I thought this was interesting, and I'll give credit where it's due. This comes from Matt Hayes, who writes for different publications, including Saturday Down South, but that one scout told Matt Hayes that they've got the number one offensive lineman in the draft in Keon Green, and then they've got the number one interior defensive lineman in Marvin Leal. So, Shane, you followed this program for quite a while. One thing you've got to do is you've got to beef up your line of scrimmage in the SEC. A&M has done that. And look, Jimbo is always going to have good skill position players, right? Your reality is, are they going to be much better along the line of scrimmage? And they are finally now have got one of the better offensive and defensive lines in the league.
Yeah, and I think they have the best player in the league, quite honestly. I think his name is Anias Smith. He wears number 0.
Correct.
He's a running back / receiver. He clearly, in my opinion, is the best player in the Southeastern Conference. Brent, got any nuggets for us?
Always got some nuggets. Missouri, for whatever reason, is really having a tough time keeping players. Jadarius Perkins, we mentioned, is going to Florida. Now, Jalen Knox, a senior wide receiver, junior defensive back Chris Mills, and offensive lineman Mike Ruth are all going in the transfer portal, which hurts them. I mean, you never want to lose anybody, but to lose someone this time of year is not anything easy at all. So they've got to try to be able to figure that out and where they are going with that too. So, and again, Pac-12 kickoff times announced this morning too. Brandon Marcello, who's with 24/7, he used to be an Auburn beat writer, had a conversation with Bobby Bowden that made a little bit of news. I think most people know Bowden was basically in talks with Alabama to be the coach at Alabama twice, not once, but twice in his career. I think what kind of went under the radar was that Bowden nearly took the Auburn job in '80 before they hired Pat Dye, but there was a $750,000 buyout, which is chump change now, isn't it, Shane? That they got involved with that. So I just thought that was interesting note to be able to look at that again. So again, for our listeners, Athlon is out. Hopefully the next time Shane and I talk, Lenny's will be out. So magazines getting on the stands. I haven't been arrested yet for loitering or stalking, Shane. So that's a good thing too.
Yeah. Brent, speaking of the Pac-12 coming out with their game times, they're not going to be a bunch of dumb you-know-whats playing those 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time games, are they?
I don't think they are. They may have one or two of them.
That's so dumb.
It really is. If they can do this, Shane, we talked about this the other day, what the Pac-12 really needs to do is, if they can do this, it would be when the SEC leaves that 3:30 time slot in a few years and goes to ESPN, they would be smart if they could get a situation like that. That would be, say if they played at 3:30, that'd be around obviously 12:30 out there. But that'd be a much better. Yeah, I'm with you. That'd be a much better situation than playing at 9 in the morning.
Yeah, playing football at 9 in the morning is nearly impossible with the wake up call at like
really
4, and you have to eat your pregame meal. Can you imagine eating your pregame meal at 5 a.m.? I mean, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Crazy. All right, Brent, have a good week. Get your other magazines, study up, my man. We'll talk to you next week.
Look forward to it, pal. Take care.
That's Brent Beaird. Join us on the Titan MR hotline at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. From now until May 31st, get our preventative maintenance plan for $169 and save almost 40% off the normal cost. Any maintenance schedule between now and May 31st, you will be entered to win a Nest thermostat with installation. This day in sports, back in 1968, Papa Bear, George Halas, retires from coaching, finishing with 318 regular season wins and 6 NFL titles. That's George Halas, retiring in 1968. That's our good friends at Comfort Temp, bringing us this day in sports. We're going to take our first time out of the program. When we come back, we'll be joined by the PrepZone.com's Mike Ridaught, talk a little high school sports on the Baker Sporting Goods Roundup. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Harder Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Center State Bank is becoming South State Bank, but we still put business first. We understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State will still have 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. I want to thank Brent Beaird for joining us on the Titan MR hotline. We're going to jump on the Titan MR hotline one more time, and we're going to be joined by the PrepZone.com's Mike Ridaught. Good morning, Mike. How are you, my man?
Hey, good morning, Shane. How are you?
I'm doing well. You're a busy man. First off,
anyway.
I'm assuming all the baseball and softball playoffs finalized now?
At least for our area, yes.
Okay.
They're still wrapping up this week, but North Marion was the last area team to play. The Colts did play in the state championship game. That was their first appearance in school history, so congratulations to Dale Hall and the North Marion Colts for getting to the Final Four, for getting to the state championship game, but they just came up a little bit short against North Broward Prep.
Yeah, and I don't know if we talked to you or to Marty Paulman. Newberry wins the state title, first one ever. They had to come from behind against Chipley, didn't they?
Yeah, I think Marty was on your show Thursday morning, so Newberry was preparing to play for the state championship, that night. So congratulations to Newberry. They made a heck of a run. They end the season on, I believe, an 18-game winning streak. But yeah, shout out to Mike Spina and the job that he did with Newberry this year. But that Panthers team, they beat Hamilton County in the state semifinals, and then they played Chipley, you're right, in the state championship game. So a good season overall. Obviously getting a chance to play in their first appearance in the Final Four since 1979 when they were state runners-up in Class 2A. So they had never won a state championship in baseball, and they get it done. So, as you mentioned, the win against Chipley in the state championship game was a game that they did have to come back, a couple of times. They fell behind 2-0 in the first inning, battled back in the bottom of the first inning, got a run, but then Chipley scored 3 runs in the top of the fourth. And as Mike Spina said, some teams could have kind of cashed it in at that point, down 4-1, but they kept battling, or 5-1 rather. They kept battling. They got 2 runs in the bottom of the fourth inning, and then they sent 10 batters to the plate in the 5th inning, scored 4 runs on 1 hit, couple of errors, and big inning for them. But they kind of gave Chipley a taste of their own medicine because Chipley had plated their runs in the first inning on 4 consecutive walks. So there were 2 walks with the bases loaded. So really the kind of the pitching fell apart in the first inning for Newberry, but then Newberry was able to do the same thing. They had back-to-back walks with the bases loaded in the 5th inning to help carry them to that come-from-behind win against a Chipley team that was, only had 1 loss all season. They were ranked number 1 in the state. So again, congratulations to Newberry. They finished with only 1 loss this season. What a tremendous job done by Mike Spina.
Yeah, we got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Melvin Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Phil says, congratulations, Newberry. Big things being done over there with that entire sports program. Football had a great season as well. That is so true. Before we switch gears to football, again, Mike, I know you've had a rough May. Not rough, but a busy May.
just a busy May, yeah.
All the Thursday Baker Sporting Goods roundups are running together here. We did talk, I don't know if it was you or Marty, but what Trenton did in softball, I mean, they are just a powerhouse out there. And I think I asked you, and it was you, because I said, they're 1A, but can they compete against the big teams, the big schools? And you said, yes, that they have played them, they have beaten them, they have lost to them. But just talk briefly about the job that Trenton has done in softball.
Well, it helps, when you, and this is hard to imagine when you think of a small school like Trenton, which, they call that place Titletown. They just somehow keep winning state championships in a number of different sports. But they had 4 Division I signees this year. Darian Ingram, who is their pitcher, has signed with Florida Atlantic University. Her sister Adrian also is going to be at FAU. Lillian Wilkerson, the catcher, has signed with Florida Gulf Coast, and Keely Zingaro, who has signed with Stetson. It's been a tremendous run. You go all the way back to, they made the state championship game in 2018. They lost to Wheatla-Hitchcock, but then they went 27-0 in 2019 to win the 1A state title. They had what Coach Todd Bryant called their best team ever. The following year, they were 10-0, nationally ranked, when COVID shut everything down. And Todd told me, he said, listen, that 2020 team was my best team ever, better than that 27-0 team. And then this year, all they do is they go out and they win every game but one. Their only loss was to a higher classification school who they lost to in extra innings. And that was it. The only loss all season long. So what a job Todd Bryant has done. That run, if you look at that, 2019 to 2021 run, Shane, 57-1 under Todd Bryant during that span with 2 state championships. Just amazing job, that Trenton did. And they have built. Now they'll be in trouble next year because they lose a girl in Ingram who had 8 no-hitters this year. She also had a perfect game, a 5-inning perfect game this year. She struck out 17 in the state semifinals. She struck out 13 in the state championship game. So they are actually going to turn to who was a 6th grader this year, who will be pitching in the circle for next year. But they've already announced, Todd Bryant has announced he is retiring, he's stepping down. His daughter was another player, a Division I signee, who is at USF. He wants to spend time watching his daughter play in college. So he made a decision after that state championship that he was going to step down. Clint Anderson, who was on that staff, an assistant coach, will take over as head coach next year for Trenton. They do have some pieces there, But when you lose 4 Division I signees, it's going to be tough for them to repeat, especially when you throw in a Dixie County, which was really good this year. I've talked to some of the girls last night. We had them on our high school show at Sonic, and I asked them about the state semifinal, state championship, and they said their concern was more so about Dixie County than the Final Four. So that speaks volumes of Dixie County, which they return everybody but one player next year. I think Dixie County might be the team to beat, certainly in that district for next year.
Yep. We're speaking with Mike Ridaught here on the Titan MR hotline. And Mike, tell everybody real quick about your MainStreetDailyNews.com.
I appreciate it, Shane. Yeah, Main Street Daily News, while we still have the Prep Zone, we still do broadcasts for the Prep Zone. I mentioned the high school show that we had last night with Trenton softball. But if you want to find good local high school prep coverage in addition to the Prep Zone, and really I'm now writing more stuff for MainStreetDailyNews.com than I am for the Prep Zone. You'll see on today we had a recap of last night. We'll have a follow-up more about Todd Bryant stepping down, the new coach coming in, etc. But, I was there in Fort Myers, not only broadcasting Newberry baseball, but covering Newberry baseball. And, we had recaps of Trenton playing in the state championship and the state semifinal. So if you want good, mainly high school sports coverage, that's another good resource, MainStreetDailyNews.com. We're updating that daily. I'll be at a spring football jamboree tonight. Bronson, Chiefland, and Williston are playing a 3-team jamboree. So I'll be at that, and I'll have coverage of that, and probably a recap, some kind of a recap of Buchholz and Vanguard, which plays tonight in Ocala.
Yep. Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. Speaking with Mike Ridaught from the PrepZone.com and also MainStreetDailyNews.com. Chris says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, that Brady at Bellevue, Brady Ackerman, former Gator, former sideline reporter, had a fantastic debut last night for Bellevue. I think they played against Hernando and Umatilla. Did you get to catch any of that game or hear anything about it?
No, I didn't, unfortunately, because, I had the show last night with Trenton softball. But, welcome back. It's good to have the act back in this area, and I think he'll do well. I'm happy for him. Obviously, coaching is his passion. He did such a tremendous job with sports radio, not only in Gainesville, but Jacksonville. But I know that coaching is something that he's always wanted to do. Got that opportunity at Jackson State as an assistant, and now happy for him that he's the new head football coach at Bellevue. So, John Brantley has, spent a small time at Bellevue as a head coach. So I think that Brady will get that Bellevue football program turned around. I think he'll do a good job.
Yep, I agree with that. Mike, you said you're going to be at a jamboree tonight, or you're going to be at the Vanguard Buchholz game?
Yeah, because there's multiple teams, I made a decision instead of making the trek down to Ocala, which quite frankly is a really good spring football matchup, Vanguard and Buchholz, but the opportunity to cover, some of these smaller schools with Bronson, which had a good year last year, Chiefland, which, their football coach stepped down due to health reasons. Former coach is now back in as a head coach for them, and Williston. So just an opportunity to get out there and see a few more teams because I was so busy. I mean, I had junior college baseball, junior college softball state tournaments, plus Newberry in the state Final Four, et cetera. I haven't had a chance to get out and see any spring football. I'm happy that they're getting an opportunity to have spring ball since we didn't have it last year. But I just felt like I would rather see a few teams versus the kind of the one or two tonight in Ocala.
So I know a lot of spring games have been played in the North Central Florida area. Who do you know who has played already? Did they win their spring games? Not that really matters. Got any kind of rundown real quick of who's already played their games?
Yeah, I mean, you go all the way back to the spring game. The first spring game was May 14th. Newberry played at Bradford. Bradford won that one. Trenton was at home against Interlochen. I actually covered their game, and that's a higher classification team in Interlochen. So Bill Wild's back as the head coach for the Trenton Tigers. They put up a lot of offense, a lot of running in that football game. So, I think Trenton might be a team to watch out for in 1A. Also, let's see, Eastside played at Santa Fe. That was a game that came down to, well, it was a fourth quarter, late fourth quarter game. Now, a lot of these, with the spring games, sometimes you'll have schools play their varsity for a full half. Sometimes, like in that Eastside Santa Fe game, they played their varsity. I want to say they played them into the fourth quarter of that game. Gainesville, another team that played, they played to a draw against Ocala Forest, another team that kind of kept their varsity players in, again, because they didn't get that opportunity to play spring ball last year. And I think the coaches wanted to take advantage of it. So just about, honestly, everybody has played. Columbia is going to play tomorrow night at Bartram Trail. And then I mentioned, Buchholz playing tonight, and then Williston, Chiefland, Bronson playing tonight. But that's it. I mean, we'll be done with spring football after tomorrow night with Columbia.
Yep, there's no question. I saw where Buchholz has a really good player, Quan Lee. He committed yesterday to the University of Miami. And, of course, people on Twitter, how do you let a homegrown kid here in Gainesville get away from going to be a Gator? What I try to tell people, Mike, and they don't understand it, you only have 25 scholarships to offer.
Right.
And you can't have everybody. And not everybody fits what you want to do. And,
exactly.
I don't know if Florida offered him or not, but maybe he just doesn't fit into their plans. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't think the general public understands that.
Yeah. From what I heard, he was never offered by Florida. But again, like you said, it's based on needs. And as for now anyway, because he made the commitment yesterday to go to the University of Miami. He's going to stay in the Sunshine State. But again, a lot can happen even during this year. I mean, things change. So, but there's no question Quan Lee is a pretty special player. And it's nice that, the Gainesville area will produce another Power 5 football signee. That'll be 3 consecutive recruiting classes that has happened. But last year, 47 catches, just over 1,000 yards receiving, 12 touchdowns. And the best part about that too, Shane, his quarterback's coming back, Creed Whittemore, who also has picked up an offer from Arkansas State recently. That's going to be a fun combination to watch this year, Creed Whittemore to Quan Lee. But, happy for Quan. Again, it's just a commitment. Things can change. But no, I don't believe the University of Florida, at least I heard that they did not offer him. But he did have, he had at least 30 scholarships that he was offered, opportunities to play anywhere, really. So happy for Quan Lee. And, it was a fun year, the way Buchholz ended the season last year, a tough loss and a 38-35 double overtime game, probably one of the best high school games. That was against Niceville in the Sweet 16 last year in Soda. One of the best high school games I've seen in several years. So I'm looking forward to seeing Buchholz and see if they can make it back to the state playoffs this year. Obviously, they had a good run last year.
Yeah, they have a chance to be really good this year. Nat asked on Facebook Live, or says, brought to you by Metal Law, have they seen the running back depth chart? Well, Quan's not a running back. He's a wideout. But as you said, a lot of things can happen. He's committed to Miami, but that could change. But I don't, as you said, he was not offered by Florida, and there's nothing wrong with that. Mike, we got a text here before we let you go on the Titan Tomorrow text line. It comes from George. George says, Mike, once high school sports is over, what do you do all summer?
Well, before COVID shut down last year, I had been broadcasting youth baseball state tournament and World Series games. And I did that, I guess, for a span of like 10 years. And honestly, it's not something that I would do per se, I guess, for the money, because there's not a whole lot of money that I made doing it. I just loved it for the kids. We would broadcast the games. They would go back to their hotel rooms after the games and either watch or listen to it, depending on if we did video or audio. And that's something that would keep me busy from, I'd say, maybe the end of June all the way through, when fall practice starts up. So I haven't decided if I'm going to do that for this summer now that I have this new job with Main Street. For MainStreetDailyNews.com, for the month of June, we will do a senior spotlight. So I'll have a different senior. I'm going to try and pick my top 30 seniors for the year, and I'm going to do a feature every day on a different senior. And then as we roll into the month of July, I'm going to do a rising senior, take a look at the top juniors from this past year that they're going to be the top seniors for next year, kind of do a countdown to the season. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't end, honestly. I'll find something to keep me busy, whether I'm doing the youth baseball state tournament and World Series over the summer, or if I'm just kind of, consistently throwing some stuff up there all summer long. But I will stay busy. Thankfully, we've got sports again. I'm just happy that we do.
No doubt about it. Well, Mike, you do a tremendous job. Try to get some rest.
I appreciate it.
That the season's pretty much over. But again, everybody can check Mike's workout on the prepzone.com and mainstreetdailynews.com. Be safe, my man, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, Shane. Thanks for the time. Have a great day.
Yep, that's Mike Ridaught. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Going to take our final time out of the program. When we come back, we'll wrap up this Thursday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Darshakow Insurance, Silverback Concrete Company. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, Center State Bank. Already read that one. Celebration Point's where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Dave & Buster's, Nike, Palmetto Moon, Skechers, and coming summer of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurs, Gridiron Grill, and Visors, Tailgate, and Rooftop Bar. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. I had to make an audible there. I checked off, had Coach Spurry call the wrong play, so we had to change it. I did it real quick. I just want to give a shout out to there's an event June 6th called the Gainesville Water Wars at Lincoln Middle School from 12 to 6. Alachua County School Board will be there enrolling kids in school. A lot of former UF players will be there signing autographs like, I know T1 Ratliff will be there, Mike Natil, Chris Rainey, Reggie Lewis, and Rod Johnson. So that's June 6th at Lincoln Middle School. It's brought to you by Little Shriners and the Gator Auction House, folks. So really want to thank Brent Beaird and Mike Ridaught for joining us on the Titan MR hotline today. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Gator baseball this afternoon at 5:30 against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe, folks. We will see you tomorrow.